Hi everyone, this is the week 3 update. I'm in our Kinesiology 182 course, same as how we always start, and I wanted to highlight the assignments that are due. Switch this over to student view. So you have the chapter 8 quiz, which is still open. That is due Thursday, April 9th, this Thursday at 9:25 a.m. You do still have the opportunity to take the chapter 7 quiz if you haven't yet. Just know that it is continually counting 10% deducted per day late. So unless you've gotten a hold of me and told me that something's going on outside of your control that you haven't taken it yet, that 10% deducted per day will be in effect. So try to get that taken as soon as you can if you have not. And I just opened up the chapter 9 quiz. I'm sorry, it's not open yet, but I will open it as soon as I finish this video. So chapter 9 quiz will be open and it is due Thursday, April 16th. So these 3 quizzes, like I said before, are your primary coursework to get you ready for exam 2, which is coming up. It's going to open up April 16th. So week after Easter, it's going to open and you'll have the opportunity to take exam 2. Similar format to as if you were in the classroom. It will just be taking place online. And the professional behaviors disposition survey, I do need everybody to take this. Normally we would take this in the classroom if we were meeting. However, we aren't able to do that. So this is a Google form that you will go through and answer questions as truthfully as you can. It just helps us assess your readiness for a career and where you're at with most of you guys freshmen standing right now. So make sure you get all 3 of these quizzes taken. Chapter 9 quiz is due the 16th, and then as soon as that closes, it'll right away open up that exam 2. To prepare for exam 2, I've mentioned in my other videos, use the study guides. Study guides are posted under resources. Also use the Kahoot quizzes, which are found under the resource tab as well. They are right here, chapter 7, 8, and 9. Study guides. I do also have the Jeopardy review game that you can play if you would like to review that way. Otherwise, I have chapter 7, 8, and 9 Kahoots posted here. One more thing I want to highlight is the Olympic Games video. It's about a 10 to 15 minute video. Try to watch that. That will help identify some of those different parts that were talked about in the chapter 7 notes. So come over here and watch that video when you get time to help review for chapter 7. All right, let's go over to the notes so I can highlight some important parts. I did go through, so this looks a little funky because I don't have Microsoft Word or PowerPoint on this computer. It will look more normal when you download it on your computer. But I did go through and try to bold out some important parts that I really want you guys to focus on throughout the notes of chapter 9. So starting out on the 3rd slide here, 20th century physical education, 2 themes emerged. So we're getting past the traditional gymnastics from Germany, Sweden, and it was Germany, Swedish, and Danish gymnastics. We now have education through the physical and education of the physical. So these are 2 important themes that emerged, and I want you to focus on them because they will repeat themselves throughout this chapter. So education through the physical, think all around student development. So developing your physical, your mental, your social aspects. Education of the physical focuses just on the physical development aspect. So just being the strongest, the fastest that you can. You're physically athletic, strong. However, it does not take into consideration all the other components as education through the physical does. Okay, are people of interest? I'm not going to go through them individually. I want you guys to study them, focus on what is bolded or pointed out for you. Luther Gulick here, he came up with the YMCA triangle, which is spirit, mind, and body. When you guys see that, hopefully you think of that's oftentimes what we call like our yoga type of classes. That was thanks to Luther Gulick, Thomas Wood, wrote the book, authored The New Physical Education with Rosalind Cassidy. Clark Hetherington promoted 4 objectives: organic, psychomotor, character, intellectual. Jay Nash stressed lifetime sports. So if you aren't familiar with carryover or lifetime sports, those are different sports that you can play throughout your lifetime. So it wouldn't be so much like basketball or football. You aren't going to probably be able to do those for your whole life. Think more of golf, badminton, ping pong, those things. I always try to think about like, what is it that my grandparents would still be able to do? If they're able to do those things, then that is probably a lifetime sport. Okay, Jesse Williams promoted education through the physical. So remember that focuses on all the aspects. So the physical, social, mental components that contribute to an individual. Charles McCloy was opposite of Jesse Williams. He focused on education of the physical, so being the fastest, the strongest person that you could be. He encouraged standardized tests. So you guys probably all remember the fitnessgram or some sort of test that you did during your physical education class. Charles McCloy was one who encouraged these types of testing. So fitnessgram, you maybe did the pacer test, the push-up test, half sit-up, whatever it may be. Those are all different components that schools oftentimes use as standardized testing. So I really encourage you guys to do this. So this is a visual that shows Delphine Hanna at the top. That's where we started, as she was the teacher for the different individuals. We talked about her in chapter 8. She introduced anthropometric measures and individualized programs. Go through and identify who these people are and how they are related to the person above them. So I want you guys to be able to talk through every component, who they are, what they did, and how they relate to the previous person that they're linked to. If you get stuck, I do have the answers. They're all right here. This will help kind of walk you through it. However, on these arrows, I want you guys to jot down what their relation is. So Delphine Hanna at the top with each of these arrows, you could write student of, or for her, she was the teacher of, to each 4 of these gentlemen. And then just continue to do that. Luther Gulick, he was a roommate with Thomas Wood in college. Just continue to jot down what they had to do with each other. You should be able to find every answer within the notes. Okay, major movements in physical education. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. Collegiate sports. So the NCAA was formed. This is an important point. Formed out of concern of the brutality of football. So President Teddy Roosevelt called for a meeting to reform the rules. So there were too many deaths and football was just becoming too brutal at this time. So Teddy Roosevelt called the meeting. The result was a small group became the first NCAA representatives. Then the game of football was restored. NCAA was the main force until there became too many colleges, and then we branched off to the National Junior College of Athletic Association, which are 2-year institutes, and the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. That would be like us at UJ, smaller colleges. This is a very important slide right here. So know these different aspects of the NCAA and how it became. So initially it was an advisory organization. In the 1950s, they began accepting athletic scholarships. So institutions then gave up some of their power to the NCAA to ensure that rules were being followed for scholarships and recruiting. So they wanted everybody to be fair game and other colleges to accommodate different scholarships and recruiting in a fair manner. In 1951, a television contract was passed. That enforcement gave leverage to the NCAA. So if a certain college was not abiding by the rules that were set forth, they would simply not air their sporting event on television. So that gave them more power to get the different colleges to abide by the regulations. We then had the separations between Divisions 1, 2, and 3. Division 1 popularity led to the stricter NCAA control. So highlight this slide here, come back to it, make sure you know these different bullet points of what made the NCAA. Collegiate sports for women. So in the early 1900s, women were still cautioned to engage in sporting events due to an overemphasis on competition. It's led to modified rules, several sports. Instead of competitions, they would have field days, play days, sports days. They all emphasized social interaction and fun. So there was not a strong sense of competition at this time. Title IX. Definitely know what Title IX is and what it has done for sports. So Title IX protects people from discrimination based on sex in education programs or activities that receive federal financial assistance. So important points here are that it's based on discrimination of sex, any federal financial assistance program. So it's not just sports, it is also any sort of educational program that may exist. So no person in the U.S. shall, on basis of sex, be excluded from participation, denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity that receives that federal financial assistance. Title IX changed the attitudes regarding women in sports. So competitions were permitted as long as the welfare and high standards were maintained. This also led to the Association of Women's Athletics. So Title IX of Education was passed into the amendments in 1972. Okay, so what it does is it prohibits discrimination against sex for any program that is receiving financial assistance. It's led to the recreation movement. I'm running out of time here, so I want you guys to just read through these on your own. By the decade, our sports have definitely changed. Fitness in schools. So the Cross-Weber Minimal Muscular Fitness Test. Know that the U.S. failed. So 58% of U.S. youth failed one or more items. The European surpassed us. Only 9% of European youth failed one or more tests. However, this test primarily focused on flexibility. So this image at the very bottom is an example of a few of the different tests that they would engage in. So it would focus on core strength, abdomen, upper back, all of those different flexibility components. So in 1956, President's Council ordered for 15 minutes of vigorous activity per day. Okay, my slide's a little messed up here. Hopefully it looks better on your guys' computer. The AAHPER youth test had different components that were mandated. The pull-ups, flexed arm hang, shuttle run, broad jump. The US still did poor at this time. So we had better measures. It wasn't just testing flexibility. However, we were still considered poor. This led to Physical Best and Cooper's Fitnessgram. Know the difference between the two. Physical Best is an educational program, focuses on knowledge, skills, and attitudes for healthy and fit life. The Fitnessgram is a computerized reporting system. That's probably what you guys were more so used to. So it is a physical fitness assessment. It tests your aerobic capacity, body composition, ab strength and endurance, upper body strength, flexibility. Here is an example of what the Fitnessgram looks like. I'm sure you guys can all identify one or two of these different tests that you did during your school, high school, middle school. Kenneth Cooper came out, he's considered the father of aerobics because he came out with the text aerobics, which was a point system based on physical activity. Okay, I want you guys to go through these amendments for adapted physical education towards the end. I know I'm out of time, so just go through these. Last point I want to make is the least restrictive environment. So this is a requirement of an individualized education program. These need to be reevaluated every year, so you can see that you must set annual goals, which is a point right here, and make sure that that student is in the least restrictive environment that they can be. So you need to measure progress, state district testing, you need to go through all of these different points. And last thing I want to point out is the Kahoot quiz. Please use those to your advantage. Those are great ways to practice for quizzes and exam 2, which is to come. As always, let me know if you have any questions, anything that's not quite making sense. Shoot me an email, text, call me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Have a great rest of the week, guys.